It takes a lot of what they call chutzpah to remake a successful film, especially a film as deeply etched in people's memories as the late 50s horror classic The Fly. No one who was there could ever forget the sight of a man with an enormous fly's head, nor at the end of the film, the little tiny fly with the man's head screaming, "Help me! Help me!" Scared the pants off me. I was just a little kid, and my mother didn't know I was there, but I saw this film. Well, chutzpah is something David Cronenberg has a lot of. He's also got a lot of fans around the world who were thrilled that he decided to remake the horror classic. Of course, it's a totally different film, one that Vincent Price himself might not recognize. And let's look a little bit at what he's done with it.
What happened?
A fly got into the transmitter pod with me that first time when I was alone. The computer got confused. There weren't supposed to be two separate genetic patterns, and it decided to splice us together. It mated us, me and the fly. My teleporter turned her into a gene splicer. A very good one, and now I'm not Seth Brundle anymore. I'm the offspring of Brundle and Housefly. I'm scared. Help me. Please. Please.
A little nod to the original there. Jeff Goldblum and Gina Davis in David Cronenberg's The Fly. Director David Cronenberg, the man who they call Canada's Prince of Horror, joins me now. Welcome, David.
I was a Baron once. I guess I've been demoted. But anyway, yeah.
Baron, Prince, same levels. At The Fly last night, yours truly, perhaps almost in the same way as, oh, we lost our poster here, in the same way as we did in the original, I walked out upset. Not only by what happened to my favorite character, Goldblum, but by the gory, horrifying scenes I had seen. Is that success to you, I have to ask?
Well, you'll have to tell me. I mean, it is a horror film. And there are people who go for professional reasons who might not necessarily go to horror films ordinarily. They will probably have difficulty with the film. It is a horror film, but of course, as you yourself can vouch for, it is also it's a romance, it's a love story. It's very emotional, it's very passionate. It's not a gore fest, it's not a slasher movie. It's also very funny, not in a sense of parody or camp, but it's an ironic and darkly humorous film, I think. And it's not, gore is perhaps what is the most spectacular aspect of it, but it's certainly not all that there is in the movie.
Well, I agreed, and I only saw half of it because of the rest of the time I was turning away with the rest of the audience. Why is that important, David, in what you're doing?
Well, it's important because I think the function of a horror film is to allow people to confront things that disturb them about life in general in a relatively safe environment. We are born to test ourselves against what will come. When children test themselves in terms of society and sexuality, and later you think about things like violence and aging and disease and death and separation. And one of the arenas that you can sort of test yourself is the cinema, is film.
You put it all up there on the screen for reaction.
Yeah.
This is not, though, to give you your due, the basic roller coaster ride of thrills that you get when you got a guy in a hockey mask chasing teenage girls around for a film, right?
I would say so.
Now, some people say your movies are high art. Where's your opinion in this?
I would agree with those people who say it's high art. And I have never had anybody in any kind of hockey mask. I wanted you to know that.
Indeed. Those who say they're emetic and vomitous, you just say, hey, take it or leave it?
Well, the thing is that, I mean, the sort of teen slasher movies, that's a whole subgenre within the horror genre. And for a lot of people, that is what a horror film is these days. But in fact, there have always been there's a lot of room to move and still call your film a horror film.
You were a young kid out of university, basically a film nut, an unspecific film nut, if I can say, staying up all night, just in love with the movies.
Yes.
Why would you pick this genre, as they say, this kind of film?
Well, it wasn't a conscious choice. I mean, when I began to write, and even before I was interested in film and wrote short stories and so on, they tended to be rather dark in that way. And even the short stories I wrote, you could call horror stories.
Where does this come from in your...
Well, to tell you the truth, it really, I think that to see a horror film, your attitude has to be that it's as though you had someone drilled a hole in your forehead, and while you were sleeping and having a nightmare, your dream was projected directly onto the screen through this lens in your head. And I think that if you think of it that way, you'll realize that most people have created horror films. It's just that they've stayed
liberating?
internal.
Does this make you much more relaxed than the ordinary guy because you can project them out there on the screen and perhaps expunge the horror?
Yes.
Okay.
See how
to give our audience the idea of what kind of clout you had, I came out saying, well, it's a love triangle, there's 3 characters, not that many sets, and then I realized how expensive this movie was to make because of the special effects. Can you put a dollar figure on it?
It cost $11 million US.
11 US, which is probably 40 or 50 Canadian.
Yeah.
Let's look at that. Let's look at some of the incredible work that was done on this film. We've got something here that you first saw in the Royal Wedding with Fred Astaire. Yeah. And this is a Cronnenberg studio. Tell me what's happening here. Well, this Jeff Goldblum character, Seth Brundle, has been transforming because he is fused with the fly, and he's now at the stage where he actually can climb up walls and hang from the ceiling like an insect. And what you're seeing now is the machinery it took to shoot that scene. It's a rotating set. It's a room that actually revolves, and the cameraman goes upside down and pivots. The camera goes upside down. And so from our perspective, in the camera, it's actually the man climbing up the wall. And the cameraman...
But in fact, it's the camera and the man both revolving and rotating. And
so no fancy cutting. This is actually happening.
No, you can see him step from one place to the next and actually go right up the ceiling and go right up.
And as you were doing this, do you say, maybe I could have cut corners, maybe I could have done it another way, because this must be painstaking and take almost as much time.
It is, because it's not just a physical problem and a camera problem. It's very hard to operate the camera because the G-forces keep changing, so that you never know. The cameraman never knows exactly how much pressure the camera is going to require to make a smooth tilt, because the camera is moving as well.
So does technical challenge give Cronnenberg his kicks as much as projecting the nightmares on the...
No, to tell you the truth, it's more exciting. After a while, the technology is just there, and it's working with the actors. The dialogue is more exciting, really, because when you shoot technology, you wait. You might wait to do that shot. I think one shot took 2 days. That means a lot of waiting and a lot of fiddling, and then suddenly you're, for 20 seconds you're shooting, and then you stop, and it's another 4 or 5 hours before you can shoot again.
Final question. In this film, you have a love triangle, a guy and his girlfriend and her old boyfriend. Yeah. You take away the effects, the gore, the horror, you got a love story. You ever going to make one of those without the horrifying aspect?
Well, this is a realistic story, I think. To me, this is a real love story. The other stuff, the other love stories leave out the nightmare part, the emotional part, the surreal part, which I think is actually there. Well, so for me, this is naturalism.
Unlucky in love? Probably not. You're a happily married man.
That's true.
Anyway, thank you for coming.
A pleasure.
And we're over to Liz right now.